Hey, Stoic warriors, when the world goes quiet, that's when your real enemy steps forward. Not outside, not in other people, but inside your own mind. At night, there are no distractions to hide behind, no noise to drown it out. Just your thoughts, louder, sharper, harder to escape. Doubts you ignored all day start speaking, regrets resurface, fears stretch themselves into something bigger than they are, and most people lose right there, silently, alone, without anyone seeing it happen. But that moment isn't your weakness, it's your battleground. Because if you learn to face your mind when everything is still, when nothing is covering it up, you don't just survive it, you take control of it. And once you win there, nothing during the day can break you. Most people will never admit this out loud, but you know this feeling, you've lived it. You close your eyes and instead of rest, you get a courtroom, and you're both the accused and the judge. Every version of yourself that failed shows up uninvited. Every word you shouldn't have said plays back on repeat. Every dream you haven't chased yet stands in the corner, arms crossed, staring at you. And the worst part? You can't argue back, because somewhere deep inside you know some of it is true. That silence doesn't feel like peace. It feels like pressure, like the weight of everything you've been carrying finally sitting down on your chest when you no longer have the strength to push it off. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic minds who ever lived, wrote something that cuts straight to the bone. He said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that right there is the entire anatomy of a sleepless night. Your mind doesn't just replay what happened, it engineers what could go wrong. It builds entire futures out of fear. It writes stories where you lose before you even try. And you lie there, a prisoner of something that hasn't even happened yet. But here's what nobody talks about. The person who survives those nights, not by numbing themselves, not by scrolling until 3 a.m. just to escape their own head, but by actually sitting in it, breathing through it and refusing to break. That person develops something that cannot be bought, cannot be faked, and cannot be taught in a classroom. They develop a spine made of something different, something forged, something that only comes from being alone with your darkest thoughts and choosing deliberately, painfully, powerfully, not to let those thoughts write your identity. The night is not your enemy. Your unconscious surrender to it is. You were not built to collapse in the dark. You were built to become dangerous in it. This is where your transformation starts. Not in the morning, not when things get easier. Right now. In the stillness, in the silence, in the war nobody else can see. Type in the comments, "I own my night." Now, let's get into it. Point 1. The voice that knows all your weak spots. There is no enemy more precise than your own mind. A stranger can insult you and miss completely. They don't know enough about you to really land the blow. But that voice inside you, the one that shows up the moment everything goes quiet, it knows exactly where to cut. It knows your specific fears, your personal failures, the exact memory that still makes your stomach drop. It doesn't guess, it aims. And the terrifying thing is, it sounds like you. It uses your voice, your logic, your memories. So when it tells you that you're not enough, that you've wasted time, that the people around you are moving forward while you're standing still, it doesn't feel like an attack. It feels like the truth. That's what makes it so dangerous. You don't defend yourself against it. You agree with it. You've been in a room full of people and still felt completely alone. You've smiled at the right moments and said the right things and then gone home and fallen apart in private. Not because you're weak, but because you've been carrying something that doesn't have a name. A low hum of dissatisfaction. A quiet grief for the version of yourself you thought you'd be by now. And at night, that grief stops being quiet. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Man is not disturbed by events, but by the opinions he has about events. And that voice in your head is nothing but a collection of opinions. Opinions about your worth, opinions about your past, opinions about what your future is allowed to look like. They feel like facts because you've repeated them so many times they've fossilized inside you. But they are not facts, they are habits. And habits can be broken. The moment you stop treating that voice like a verdict and start treating it like a pattern, everything shifts. You stop collapsing under it and start studying it. You ask, why does this thought keep returning? What wound does it keep pressing on? What am I refusing to heal? Because the voice doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to show you exactly where you still need to do the work. It's brutal, it's uncomfortable, but it is the most honest mirror you will ever look into. Stop running from what it's showing you. Face it, understand it, and then slowly, deliberately rewrite it. Point 2. You've been exhausted by a war. No one else can see. People look at you and see someone who's functioning, someone who shows up, gets things done, holds it together, and you let them see that. Because the alternative, letting someone see how tired you actually are, feels like a vulnerability you can't afford. So you perform. Every single day. You perform confidence when you feel none. You perform certainty when everything inside you is uncertain. You perform strength when you're running on empty. And by the time night comes, you are not just physically tired. You are tired at a level that sleep doesn't fix. You wake up exhausted, not because your body didn't rest, but because your mind never stopped. It kept running scenarios, kept replaying conversations, kept building walls and breaking them down and building them again. That kind of exhaustion lives in the bones. There's a specific kind of pain that comes from never fully letting your guard down, from always being slightly braced for something, from loving people but never fully trusting that the ground beneath you is stable. You've smiled through moments that deserved tears. You've stayed silent when something inside you was screaming. And every time you swallowed something real to keep the peace or protect your image, it didn't disappear. It settled, layer by layer, until one night it all surfaces at once and you don't even know where to begin unpacking it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." But nobody tells you that change first feels like falling apart. Before something transforms, it breaks down. And that breakdown, that moment where you cannot keep pretending you're fine, is not your lowest point. It is the most honest point you've reached in a long time. The war you've been fighting inside yourself is real. The exhaustion is real, and you don't need to minimize it or rush past it or justify why it exists. You need to look it directly in the eye and say, "I see you. I know what this is, and I am not going to keep draining myself fighting invisible battles with my own shadow." The strongest thing you can do tonight is stop performing. Stop holding the shape of someone who has it all together, and just be honest with yourself before anyone else about what you're actually carrying. That honesty is not weakness. That honesty is where your real strength begins. Point 3. The person you're becoming scares. The person you've been. There is a specific kind of discomfort that nobody prepares you for. Not the pain of failure, not the sting of rejection, something quieter and far more unsettling. The discomfort of outgrowing yourself, of feeling yourself pulled towards something bigger, while everything familiar in you resists it. Like two versions of you are living in the same body, and they cannot coexist much longer. One is afraid of being seen. The other is desperate to be known. One wants safety. The other wants meaning. And that tension, that internal tearing, is loudest at night. You've felt it. That strange restlessness that isn't sadness but isn't peace either, where you can't go back to who you were because something in you has already moved. But you haven't fully arrived at who you're becoming. So you exist in the in-between. And the in-between is the loneliest place a person can live. People around you might not understand why you've gotten quieter. Why certain conversations no longer hold your attention. Why things that used to excite you now feel hollow. They might call it depression. They might call it distance. But what it actually is evolution. Your soul is in the middle of shedding something. And shedding is never clean. It's uncomfortable. It's disorienting. It leaves you feeling raw and exposed in a way that's hard to explain to someone who hasn't felt it. The Stoics called this process memento mori, the meditation on impermanence, the understanding that nothing stays, including the version of you that you've clung to for safety. Every identity you've built, every comfort zone you've lived inside, every story you've told yourself about who you are and what you're capable of, it all has an expiration date, and growth is simply the courage to let it expire. The old version of you was not wrong for existing. It carried you to this exact moment. But it cannot carry you forward. The fears it holds, the limits it believes in, the smallness it settled for, those were survival tools, not life tools. And you are no longer just trying to survive. You are trying to become. And becoming requires you to grieve what you're leaving behind while still walking toward what you haven't reached yet. That grief is real. Honor it. But do not let it anchor you to a version of yourself the universe has already outgrown. Point 4. Silence is where the weak collapse and the strong rebuild. Most people treat silence like a threat. The moment it arrives, they fill it with music, with scrolling, with noise, with anything that keeps them from having to sit inside themselves. Because silence asks questions that distraction never does. It asks, are you happy with who you are? Are you living the life your soul actually wants? Are you moving towards something real, or just moving to feel like you're not standing still? And those questions are terrifying when you don't have honest answers to them. But the people who learn to sit in silence without flinching, without reaching for an escape, those are the people who develop a relationship with themselves that nothing external can shake. They know what they value. They know what they fear. They know the difference between a thought that is trying to protect them and a thought that is trying to imprison them. That kind of self-knowledge doesn't come from books. It doesn't come from advice. It comes from going into the silence, unarmed, and refusing to leave until you understand something true about yourself. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, taught that the path to inner freedom begins with self-awareness, not comfort, not happiness, awareness. The brutal, unflinching knowledge of who you actually are beneath everything you perform for the world. Silence is not empty. Silence is full of everything you've been avoiding. And the night gives it to you whether you want it or not. So stop treating it like punishment. Start treating it like a private training ground. Every night you sit with yourself honestly, without numbing, without escaping. You come out sharper, harder to break, more yourself than you were the day before. Point 5. You don't need morning to start over. You need this moment. There's a lie most people live by without realizing it. That change happens in the morning. That fresh starts belong to sunrise. That you need a new week, a new month, a new year to become something different. So they wait through another sleepless night, through another spiral, through another round of punishing themselves for not being further along, waiting for a clean beginning that keeps moving further away the longer they wait for it. But here's what the night actually is. It isn't the end of your day. It is the most honest conversation your life will ever have with you. And the person who learns to have that conversation right here, in the dark, in the discomfort, without waiting for better conditions, that person doesn't need a Monday. They don't need January. They rebuild in real time. You have survived every single night that tried to break you, every fear that felt permanent, every version of yourself you were convinced you were stuck being, every moment where you were certain nothing would change. you survived it. Not because circumstances rescued you, but because somewhere underneath all the noise and self-doubt and exhaustion, something in you refused to fully surrender. That refusal is not small. That refusal is everything. Epictetus, who was born a slave and became one of the most powerful philosophical minds in human history, said, "It's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters." He didn't say that from comfort. He said it from chains, from a life that had every reason to break a person completely. And he chose, in the darkest conditions imaginable, to build an empire inside himself that no one could take from him. That same choice exists for you right now, not tomorrow, not when things calm down, not when you finally feel ready, because that feeling of readiness is a lie your fear tells you to keep you still. The moment you stop waiting for the night to end and start using it, the moment you stop being a victim of your own mind and become a student of it, that is the moment everything changes. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, privately, in the dark, where no one is watching, where it matters most. You don't conquer your life in public. You conquer it in moments exactly like this one. Own the night. Own yourself. You made it through the night, not because it got easier, because you didn't leave. Most people spend their entire lives running from the version of themselves that shows up in the dark. They stay busy enough, loud enough, distracted enough to never have to sit with it. And they call that living. But you know the difference now between existing and actually being alive, between performing strength and building it, between waiting for life to change and deciding, in the most silent, private, unglamorous moment, that you are the change. Every great transformation in human history started in a moment nobody witnessed, not on a stage, not in front of an audience, in private, in pain. In a moment where the person had every reason to give up and chose, for no external reason with no guarantee of reward, to keep going. That moment lives in you too. It has always lived in you. The night didn't create your enemy. It revealed your warrior. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire and still fought his mind in the dark, like every other human being who has ever lived. And the reason his words survived 2,000 years is not because he was perfect. It's because he was honest. He faced himself. He wrote through the struggle. He showed up to his own life, even when everything inside him resisted it. That is the only thing being asked of you. Not perfection, not fearlessness, just presence, just honesty. Just the willingness to face what shows up at night and say, "I see you, I know what you are, and you do not get to decide who I become." The night will come again. It always does. But so will you. And every time you do, you will be harder to break, deeper in your knowing, and more unstoppable than the night before. Type in the comments, "I am unbreakable."